Hey there, guys. We've got news for Global on August 26th. We're going to be talking about it this time in the video, and this time I am joined by a friend of mine, Elmsmore. You may have seen, like, in videos I do, I'll take him as a friend unit pretty often. So say hello, Elms.
Hello, everybody. Hope you are having a wonderful day.
So we're going to be talking about the news, discussing it briefly. So before we start, though, this is old news. They've mentioned this every week because it is kind of a big deal. The really big patch coming next week on September 1st. It's a major client patch. It's going to reset all your party members, all your teams. So if you have like favorite teams, make sure you save them. And again, Chamber of Arms is closing for an undetermined amount of time. So, make sure you finish Chamber of Arms before next week. This is your last week to do it for, who knows how long. But that's the only thing. We're not going to mention about that too much. It's just, the big patch coming. But the story update is coming this week. This is one of the last updates for season 3. So, Elms, do you actually read the story, or do you just like skip when when you're doing it?
Well, I didn't really like the story of season three, so I personally do skip. So I'm not really familiar with 90% of it. I only read the Axstar and Cleome sections.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually, I'm not really a fan of season 3, but I do read it all, so I know what's going on. But I am definitely looking for season 3 to be over and move along to season 4. I won't spoil it, but from what I've seen of season 4 from the JP server, it does seem more interesting so far, at least. But we are approaching the end of season 3, which also means Blue Mage Fina's Neovision's Awakening should be pretty soon as well. She got that at the end of season 3. So that'll be nice, but it's not coming this week. Dark Visions is this week, and before we talk about Dark Visions, I'll just mention the new Dark Vision summon pool. The 4 Neos you can get, in my opinion, there's 2 good ones and 2 bad ones. Cacteria and Arden are pretty nice. Saul and Rain are pretty worthless. Uh, how about you, Elms? Do you have any of these not at EX3 yet?
No, I have multiple copies of each. But I wanted to point out, just in case that Global does get the crown upgrades, Rain does become good with the fire enhancements.
That is true. That is true. He becomes the primary fire support if you spend crowns on him. I have not in the JP server because they're so rare, but there's always hope that Global will make them more common. They should, fingers crossed, they should be coming next week with the big client update. That should be one of the things included, but until we see official news about that, that is just speculation. But yeah, I personally would like to pull more Cacteria so I could use her in Clash of Wills at EX3. I only currently have her EX2, so I would need 4 copies, I guess. But that's the daily free pull, and then we have Dark Visions. So there's one change they've made. If you'll see here, we're going to be getting 2 days at a time, but instead of the final boss being available on Monday like usual, they're adding 2 extra days, which I really don't like. I wish they would just give it all to us on one day or shorten it so I can work on it over the weekend. But now the final boss won't even be open until Wednesday of next week. So what do you think about this, Elms? Is this a good change or an irritating change?
It's an irritating change. I mean, I'm like you, I'm very competitive, and I would like it to be sooner. Since they give us 2 weeks anyways, why not just release them earlier, especially during a weekend when most people are off, just to give them more time and opportunity to work on those final bosses.
Exactly, exactly. I would personally prefer all the easy, like the day one OTK, the day two OTK stuff, to come out on Thursday, and then you'll give people time to do that, and then I would like Saturday for the all the final bosses to open. Then you have the entire weekend to work on it. But that's our feedback. Apparently Gumi, instead of listening to us, they're going the other direction. They're spaking it out even more. What are you gonna do? The rewards are still the same as they've been. People have been asking for updated rewards. We're still not getting it, so not much to do about that. We are getting 2 new weapons: a one-handed spear and a one-handed staff for magic. Are you going to be crafting either one of these?
Yes, absolutely. I'm in them. I do everything in the game, so absolutely. But I want to point out that I've been asking for staff for an extremely long time, and then it ends up being magic. Like seriously, we already have a magic item. Why is it not spirit?
Oh, you're hoping for a spirit staff. Uh,
Yes.
for what reason? Like out of curiosity, which unit are you wanting to use it on?
Well, the new era, if it could be used on for heal, I mean, yeah, you're gonna argue that we don't really use healers on trials anymore, but I don't know, for random things I do, and for other units that I like to have fun with, as example, Yoshikiri's spirit, I could use it on him, etc.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I personally will not be crafting either of these, at least not right away. Now, I will craft the rank ones so I can, run them in item world. Because for the most part, I don't have things to run in item world anymore. So I'll craft the rank ones to get them ready. But I personally don't really see myself using a one-handed spear on anyone currently. It'd be good on Edgar if we still used him. I personally don't use him anymore. The staff, the problem with the staff is, the weapon imperils. We don't have a staff imperil in the game yet, so most mages want to use either rods or swords or daggers because those have common imperils. But the staff imperil comes with the Una in the future, but that is not here yet. And as far as the bosses, I don't think they preview it on right here. We'll go back up to the top. Oh, they don't actually show it. Well, we do know the bosses are Saul, Behemoth, and Chaotic Darkness. And I mentioned this in the news video last week, where these bosses are like the actual trial versions of these in Dark Visions, which is interesting. It makes it more fun, in my opinion. It'll be very similar to like the Clash of Wills. Most Dark Visions, you go in there, the boss does like 1 weak AoE per turn, and that's it. And you basically ignore the boss and blow it up. Whereas in Clash of Wills, there's like an actual AI and mechanics to deal with. So this will be similar to Clash of Wills. So it'll be nice. Are you looking forward to this, or do you prefer the straightforward, just bosses that don't really fight back?
Well, oh no, I do. I prefer this by a lot. I mean, that's the whole point of having actual content in the game is to challenge you, to come up with different strats, to discuss it with the community, which is my favorite portion of the game, which has a fantastic community. And one other thing I wanted to point out is if ever Edgar and the rest of the FF6 do get their EX2 buffs, that's another reason to use that spear.
Oh yeah, that would be very cool if that happens. One other content is we're getting another Chronicle battle for Final Fantasy VI. We had the Ultros battle this week. Hopefully most players have went there and cleared it. But next week we're getting the new one. And this is the one that I mentioned last week. This is the one we want. This is for Terra's STMR upgrade for those of us that own Terra. And you also get the upgrade to the Thunder Shield, which is like, kind of whatever, but it's there. But the Terra STMR is the real nice upgrade. It is limited to 1 copy, so it's you can't upgrade all your Terra STMRs. But one of them will be gaining 500 flat magic for Terra only, and 50% LB damage. So it's a nice buff for Terra. Makes her a little better than before. And also the final magical boss of this Dark Visions is weak to magical fire. So Terra is probably going to be on quite a few Dark Visions teams this month.
Totally, definitely. And then that sword buff is amazing. I don't understand how they choose which weapons do get multiple versions of upgrades or just one upgrade. That's one thing I don't really understand. I mean, you could argue the fact that she could be up OP, but until she gets her EX2 buffs, she's just going to be good.
Well, the way they do it is the first few. I guess when Chronicles were just brand new and they weren't really sure what they were doing. The original Chronicle was the Noctis STMR, and you could upgrade infinite of those. And then it was Luna Freya's STMR. On Global, that was limited to 2, but on JP, Luna Freya's was infinite as well. You could craft as many of those as you wanted. And then after that was Zidane's STMR, craft as many of those. But at that point, they kind of like realized, oh, this is really powerful. And every Chronicle since Zidane's has been limit of 1 for the STMR upgrades and the TMR. Like Shantoto's Rod was limit of 1. And I'm blanking who else had him since then, but pretty much all of the good items since then have been limit of 1, and that's how it is in the current JP as well. It's always limit of 1 for the good stuff. Like the cheap stuff, like Thunder Shield and battle boots and all that kind of stuff. If you have multiple copies, you can upgrade all those, but those aren't really important. But for the good item, it's always a limit of one from now on and into the future.
Yeah, sad face.
And then we're getting the Return of the Cruelest Creations. This is a rerun of the 3 fan design units. If you remember, I'm doing this by memory. Althoso, Solace, and oh no, this the one on the right is Al-Sotho. This was Kairos. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing the names are right here on the screen. Oh, I didn't see that. But yes, these are the 3 fan design bosses. They're coming back, and we're getting new killers. And these are amazing. These are these double race killers at 75%. These are like STMR level, and it's so good. So this one is aquatic and avian. Aquatic, extremely rare. That is outstanding that we're getting that. It doesn't say how many we can craft. I don't know if we can craft 2 of the final tiers and multiple of the minimal tiers. We don't know yet. But it'll be neat in any case. And I will point out, if you look right here, this is actually a continuation. So if you were there for the original events, it looks like your your event points are gonna pick up right where you left off from the previous event. So maybe if you already did the event, you don't need to do as much farming for the next time, which could be neat, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. I think, well, for people who play the game, that's not a big buff. But for people who don't have the time to farm things that much, that's amazing. And I mean, just based on the previous versions of these, I would assume that it is still the same. Get 2 of the biggest ones and as many as the middle and smallest ones as you want, or not necessarily as many. I think it's 4 of each of the beginning and middle one, and then 2 of the final one. But that's just an assumption at this time.
I think it was 4 of the originals, 2 of the mid tier. No, it was more than that. It was 8. It was 8 of the originals, 4 of the mid tier, and 2 of the final tier. Yeah, that was the most. So if you went for the 2 of the finals, you didn't have any left over of tier 1 and tier 2. For most of them, I actually made 1 final tier and kept 2 of the mid tiers. Although I went ahead and crafted 2 of the final tiers for one of them for some dark visions that I actually needed more killers for, so I went ahead and did the combination for the last one. And then the other killers we're getting are Reapers and Insect. Insects aren't super common. Reapers have been showing up more and more recently, like the current Clash of Wills. There's a few upcoming Dark Visions bosses that are Reapers, so that's nice. And then the last one is Dragons and Plants. This one is, I would say, not as big a deal. There's tons and tons of dragon killers. There's actually quite a few plant killers as well. It's not a common race. There's actually a lot of sources of plant killer. But still, if you ever fight a dragon plant, this is really good. And then the bonus units, they're finally retiring Yoshikiri and Starlight Elena. They are no longer the permanent bonus unit for these global exclusive events. But we've got the other fan design units, and then Louise and Ling.
Yeah, they replaced Starlight and Elena with Elena.
That's actually nice because she, for most players, can be EX3 from the anniversary quest. So that's real nice. But I personally have an EX3, Elena, Behemi, and Louise. So that'll be real easy farming for me. I've got an EX2, Cacteria, and Ling as well. So I've got like an EX14 team for my farming ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. That is what you want, and eventually all the free-to-play players or people who have started recently will get those pretty easily. We had a very good event for Elena to get her to EX1, if I'm not mistaken, for free. So most people will have that as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And then the Chamber of the Brave. That's old stuff. Whatever. So here's the banner stuff. Before we go into the banner itself, I'll just mention the 2 STMRs this time are Ark's Hat and Heliotite. And I usually give like my recommendations. As I always say, prioritize the fragments over anything else. Fragments are always the most important. But if you buy out the fragments, you have leftovers. Between these 2, I would say Heliotite is probably the more useful one. It's high magic. It gives MP reduction, which can be useful on some units. And then Ark's Hat, 64 magic is nice, but there's a whole bunch of sources of that. So I would say Heliotype between these two. What about you, Elms? Which one would you pick if a player had to pick one of these two?
It's Yeah, if it's a brand new player, absolutely you're right. Haliolite would be the priority. But if you do have the one Haliolite, Ark's hat is absolutely a fantastic hat. It's one of the top tier hats for mages. It gives you 2 LB per turn. It has, if I'm not mistaken, 7% MP regen every turn. It's a fantastic, fantastic item. So it's really hard to choose between the two, but if you have one, go for the other.
I think it's actually boost LB fill rate, not per turn. But that's really good as well.
Yeah, on a hat, it's very rare.
The rest of this, Ygni has the pity and the banner itself. So we've got Cleome and Ygni. Before we talk about Ygni, Cleome, we'll mention, is a 7-star unit. She's a damage unit. She doesn't really have any support whatsoever. So just to speak plainly, she's pretty worthless today as a unit. We'll jump down and show her STMR and TMR real quick. Her TMR is a attack with some killers to Reaper and machines, which can be nice, and the two-handed katana has killers on it to Reapers and machines. So that can be good, especially if you've got Sephiroth on your team to do katana in peril. Then you could stick this on like a secondary DPS to get some killers if you're fighting like Reapers or machines. The unit itself, like I mentioned, is a damage dealer. That is a 7-star, so she just is not going to do anything. She does get a Neovision's Awakening later, which makes her, usable. So you said you actually read the Cleome and Axstar parts in the story, Elm. So is she like a favorite of yours? Do you like her?
No, actually, Axstar is my favorite character in FFB up to now.
Oh, okay.
Cleome, I thought the story was very sweet. She's like the daughter he never had, and and she's a very interesting character, and she's like one of those I don't know, in the Japanese anime, she's like one of the little sister type waifu characters. It was a pretty cute story for that portion.
Mm-hmm. And then the global original. Technically, it's not global exclusive anymore. This was designed by Hiroshi, the artist that sent this in, won the contest. This was the magical damage dealer category. The Banished Moogle. So we don't really know too much about the kit. The banner is a panel banner. This is not the 3-in-1 free. This is the panel, which I kind of prefer panels more than the pull and get one free, because you get shards guaranteed on the panel if you pull enough. So I like that better. But how about you, Elms? You actually pull on lots of banners. Do you prefer the pull 3 get 1 free, or do you prefer the panels?
I prefer the panels as well, but I mean, in the past we've had a mix and match of both. It's really the premium banners that were very, very painful. I thought the drop rates were very low and etc. So it really depends on the person and their luck. But yes, the panels are great. As you mentioned, those fragments get precious. When you went through the premium banners and got 0 fragments, like you realize that these fragments are super precious.
Mm-hmm. And his fragments will also be in the exchange shop for those players that are pulling on this banner. But here's what we know about Ygni. He's got his base form where he's like the red mage looking thing, and then he shifts into like the Star Wars form with the lightsabers.
Yes, the Emperor is amazing. He's like a mix of Emperor and General Grievous.
Yeah, he looks cool. He has a unlimited brave shift. You can swap at will, which is the way I personally prefer it. I can't stand units where like they have a limited duration shift. That's so irritating. I much prefer units that you can swap as desired, and this one is. The STMR is a dagger. It's a 180 magic dagger with some HP and true dual wield magic, which is fine. It's 180 magic, which feels a little lowish these days as we're getting into like dark vision weapons with 280 and stuff. I guess on global we only have like the 260-ish weapons. On JP they go to between 280 to 295. But yeah, 180 seems a little lowish, but could be fine.
Yeah, it's not only the 180; it's the fact that it's also a dagger. So It really limits your options. And we have other decent daggers in the magic section, like Benevolent Beauty Rems. But yes, for a brand new unit, it seems to be a slightly weaker STMR.
Mm-hmm. And then the TMR is 50 magic and 20 HP when you're using a dagger. And just like the other fan units, like Behemoth and all that, you can upgrade one of them to also give it 50 magic true dual wields. That's actually really good. That's almost the same as what's his name, War of the Visions Gilgamesh for magic dual wields. So that's pretty good. I think it's on. I think it's only. Yeah, it's still locked to short swords only, which is the way the game calls daggers. But seems good. Seems good. Then the vision card. We're gonna talk about that more in a minute, so we're gonna skip that for the moment. But here's the previewed skills. So this one reminds me of like Mastermind Zahn, where you copy. No, you don't copy. You project all the buffs on Ygni onto your party, which seems cool. What we don't know is if Ygni has a way to copy from other units. So that's going to be the big question of, is this like the Neovision's version of Mastermind Zahn? Because if Ygni can copy and then spread, that'll be amazing. So what do you think?
Absolutely. That's the first thing that hit me earlier this morning when I read the news. And absolutely, I thought he was going to be the new Zahn, but yeah, as you said, it's the fact that if he can copy out of units thing, that's the main thing. If not, it's going to be similar to what the other Moogle does. I forgot his name.
Napi, I think you're thinking of.
That's right. Napi also spreads from his own buffs, if I remember correctly.
No, Napi has it where Napi copies from other players onto himself, but he can't spread the buffs. He can only copy them
Right.
onto
Correct.
himself. So that's kind of
But very
cool.
definitely.
And then the Magnus is it seems like a perfect dispel and a full break and a buff for himself. So that seems convenient. Definitely, a perfect dispels are always great to have. And then the shift form is where he takes his own MP and reduces imperils dark and deals. This is the important part: partial unmitigated magic damage 2 times to one enemy. This is not the way it's described is non-elemental, which makes it seem like it's going to be a physical type skill you can imbue. Now, that's not confirmed, but the way it's written, it sounds that way. So, do you think that's going to be like another physical type mage like Louise?
It's a high likelihood. It's very possible. We'll have to see. As you mentioned, just based on the way it's written, it is a possibility. We'll have to wait until Wednesday night or Thursday morning to know.
Mm-hmm. And then the last skill is right here: deal morale-based dark damage. So this is probably going to be, I would assume, going forward, most global exclusive units or global original units are going to have some kind of morale skill for Clash of Wills, and this one, as we see, does have it. So I would assume that Ygni is probably going to be good in Clash of Wills. We don't know yet, but if the boss can be hurt by dark damage, this very likely could be a powerful skill, maybe even like surpassing Sky or something. We don't know. We don't know the numbers yet, but that's how it usually goes. Is the newer unit kind of power creeps the older unit. So what do you think? Is this gonna power creep Sky for the next Dark Visions? I mean the next Clash of Wills.
I don't think so personally. The reason it's because it's not the unit released with the event. I would agree with you if it was the unit released with the event. However, we don't know yet. We'll have to wait until the mods release, the information on the breaks release, etc.
Mm-hmm. So I'm personally hoping that Ygni does get that Zahn skill to copy and then spread, because I loved using Mastermind Zahn and Dark Visions, and I haven't used him in a long time just because he's, a little bit outdated at this point. He's still great at what he does, but especially for Clash of Wills, you just can't bring Zahn because he doesn't have any EX levels. So having a unit that can have EX levels and do what Zahn does would be amazing, and if that is the case, I'll definitely be trying to pull for him.
Same here. Absolutely. We'll have to wait till Thursday to get the full information, the full gist of the unit, see the mods, see what it can do, see the break percentages. But I agree. If it is what we want, we're going to go for it.
Mm-hmm. And then the Vision card. As you can tell, the Vision card is non-premium because it's only got 110 magic, which is still really good. It's still better than most Vision cards. But 110 magic, 80% magic with a dagger, and then for Brave XPS units only, you get physical and magical Fairy Killer. So overall, pretty good card. It's a great card if you're fighting fairies or spirits. Fairy spirit, same thing. But requiring daggers for a mage is a little bit annoying. So I would assume that most mages are not going to love this, other than Ygni himself. But we'll see. Could be.
Excuse me, yes. I'm not a fan of the card personally. It's not a bad card by any means. Just for a veteran player, there's much, much better choices out there. Yes, the Fairy Killer is nice, but it's locked to FFB units only. You don't get the Mag boost, as you said, if you don't use a dagger or short sword. So I'm not a fan, but it's not a bad card.
Mm-hmm. And then these cards, these cards start off in a bundle, and then they get added to the pool like 3 months later or something. Resistance, not really a whole lot to say about this. It's just one of the many, many resistance cards. It's nice if you get it off banner, 3 months from now, or if you really like the card, you can buy it in a bundle on Thursday. And that's pretty much it. Dark Visions, farming the rerun fan bosses, and the Chronicle battle. As the event for the week, it is quite a bit of stuff to do this week, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. For once, it looks like it's going to be a busy week, and I'm surprised. I didn't think that Dark Visions would release right when Clash of Wills ends, because it hasn't been historically yet, but for the past few times that we've had both, they gave like a 1 week break in between. But I'm personally happy. I don't have any trouble keeping up. It might be a bit hard for people who are super casual in the game, but other than that, with the time that you do get with the 2 weeks, it should be fine.
Well, they did say that Dark Visions and Clash of Wills should never overlap, and if they're going to run both per month, most months only have 4 weeks. They kind of have to go back to back, other than every now and then you get like a 5-week month, and they might have a break. But for the most part, going forward, we should be getting these back to back the majority of the time.
Yes, I'm personally fine with it. Like I said, for the casual player, it might just be a bit difficult. I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't fans of these. I am one of those fans, so I enjoy it. It is content, neither less. So I'm fine with it, and it just means that hopefully you get the rewards faster for each.
Yep. But all right, that's basically it for the news. So thank you, Alms, for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.